month ago, the Denver Broncos were absolutely cooked. They were 1-5, and they had a historically bad defense. After a thrilling, and I mean genuinely thrilling win on Monday night over the Buffalo Bills, a last-second field goal lifts Denver to their third straight win, including 2 over bona fide AFC contenders. The Denver Broncos are, dare I say, back in the AFC playoff race, even if it's just barely. Sayre Bedinger from Locked On Broncos joins me now. And Sayre, I want to start with that defense because it has been a defensive turnaround that has keyed all of this. How have they been able to go from like tragically terrible to, hey, we can actually win games because of our defense?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it starts with personnel adjustments, right? You get Jaquan McMillan into the nickel spot where, hey, we saw him make that big play at the beginning, the first play from scrimmage against Buffalo. And you get Justin Simmons back healthy. He was out there for a bit early in the season, which kind of goes underrated as well. And PJ Locke back into the lineup. So guys getting healthy, a few changes there with personnel, but man, the pass rush has been better. The coverage has been better. Communication has been better. And I feel like Vance Joseph has really figured out ways to kind of settle into it's like a hybrid defense he's running between his own stuff and what we saw from Vic Fangio and Ejiro Evero. So kind of all these things settling in. And then, of course, I think urgency is another factor. Like you better be better or else, type of thing. So all those different factors have played in for the Broncos to turn it around, which began very strangely, I guess, on a Thursday night game, a short week they had against Kansas City a few weeks back. That's when the resurgence kind of began.
Yeah, it started before they started winning, right? The defense started playing better and they were still losing some of these games. And part of that was because the offense couldn't pick them up. Russell Wilson had 95 passing yards against Kansas City in the loss. He was 24 of 29 on Monday night with 2 touchdowns, only 193 yards, but did enough. And then the walk-off field goal set up by Wilson. So this from last year looks like a different player. It looks much more like the Russell Wilson we were used to seeing in Seattle. What, to your eyes, is different about him?
I think he just plays with more confidence this year. Last year, you felt like he was trying to do too much, that the Broncos really trying to force feed the pocket passing and really trying to make Russell Wilson into something that he wasn't. And I think Russ was maybe part of that. Maybe coming to Denver, he wanted to prove like, hey, I can stand in the pocket. I can throw over the middle of the field. I can do all these things. And it as we've seen with the way things have played out in New York, the combination of things between he and Hackett and the injuries and all those different things that specifically Russ was dealing with, he's healthy now. He looks like he's playing with confidence now. He's making far fewer mistakes this season than we saw last season, where he's throwing up the ball in harm's way, especially in critical situations. Now, like we saw against this Buffalo team, they go down the field and they go up by 1 point. How are you going to respond? And Russell's out there making plays. So we're seeing him make plays, play with confidence, fewer mistakes. He's got that spring to his step. And I think, it's still not quite there, right? The Broncos passing game is not great by any means, but he's making better decisions with the football and playing off of that run game. He's not the reason that they're going to lose at this point. Russell's not going to let himself be that guy. So he's going out there, and I think he's making some clutch plays.
Yeah, he had 9 runs in this game. Now, kneel downs at the end. Okay, those technically count as runs, but still a handful of plays for him. He has tried to cut those down, and you get a little bit of magic at the end. You get the pass interference call at the right time. That seemed to be in Seattle. Like, it seemed like half the games they won, they got a lucky penalty or a lucky break. Sometimes you just need a little bit of luck, right? That's the game, is you just have to have one little break go your way, and all of a sudden you have a 3-game win streak.
Exactly. And that has not been the story for the Broncos since they won Super Bowl 50. I mean, it's been the ball bouncing the other way almost every single game. Like, why can't the Broncos complete passes on third down? Why can't they go out like we saw tonight and just execute an extra point? You know, they although people say Buffalo did everything to give this game away, kind of the Broncos started to do that in the second half a little bit as well, right? And that's kind of been that's their identity over the last 6, 7, 8 years now, is they're finding creative ways to seemingly give games away to teams, shooting themselves in the foot. But man, to see the Broncos overcome the mistakes that they made, even as Buffalo is gifting them giveaway after giveaway, to see them overcome those mistakes, you can't help but point it back to the head coach, right? I mean, he's the one that's creating this culture where before all these different head coaches, Vance Joseph, Vic Fangio, Nathaniel Hackett, the Broncos would kind of start spiraling when those bad things would happen. Now we're seeing that they're able to bounce back. And when you have a coach who's been in those situations before like that, I think it helps.